The ship moved through the dark of space like a silver fish swimming through black water. Inside, the crew prepared for something important. They were going to meet a new species. They were going to make friends with aliens no one had ever spoken to before. Commander Irvith stood at the front of the briefing room. She was tall and thin, with skin like blue glass and eyes that looked like two black pools. She came from a world far away, a world where people grew from crystals instead of being born. She had led many missions before. She had seen many strange things. But this mission worried her. "Listen carefully," she said. Her voice was soft but serious. "The planet we are visiting is called Velith Prime. It is beautiful. It is dangerous. The people who live there are called the Veluxi. They have never allowed outsiders into their cities. Until now." She touched a button and a picture appeared in the air. It showed a world covered in forests that glowed with soft light. Mountains rose like teeth against a purple sky. Rivers of silver water cut through valleys of blue grass. "The Veluxi have agreed to meet with us. This is a great honor. We must not make mistakes." The team sat in their chairs and listened. There were 4 of them. Ambassador Thelrix was old and wise, with gray skin and 3 eyes that blinked one at a time. He had spent his whole life talking to new species and making peace between enemies. Lieutenant Kessex was a soldier with 4 arms and muscles like rocks. His job was to keep everyone safe. Dr. Yanara was a scientist. Her skin changed color with her feelings. Right now it was calm green, but it could turn blue when she was scared or red when she was angry. And then there was Elena Vasquez. She was human. Humans were new to space. They had only been traveling between stars for about 50 years. Most aliens did not know much about them. They seemed ordinary. They had no special powers. They could not change their skin color or grow extra arms. They were just humans. Elena sat quietly in her chair. She had brown hair tied back in a simple tail. Her eyes were dark and calm. She wore the same uniform as everyone else. Nothing about her looked special. Commander Irvith changed the picture. Now a creature floated in the air before them. It was long and thin like a snake, but it had 4 wings that looked like they were made of glass. Its scales shimmered with every color of the rainbow. It was beautiful. It was the most beautiful animal anyone had ever seen. "This is the HFY," Irvith said. Her voice became very serious. "The Veluxi consider them sacred, holy. They believe these creatures can see into the soul of any living being." Dr. Yanara leaned forward. Her skin flickered with curious yellow. "Fascinating. Do they have any special abilities?" "Yes," Irvith said. "They can kill you in minutes." The room became very quiet. "The HFY are among the most poisonous creatures we have ever found. One bite injects a toxin that stops your muscles from working. You cannot move. You cannot breathe. You cannot call for help. And then your organs begin to fail. There is no medicine that can save you. No cure. No antidote." Lieutenant Kessex made a low growling sound. "Then we should bring heavy weapons." "No," Irvith said sharply. "The HFY are sacred to the Veluxi. If you harm one, even by accident, they will never forgive us. The talks will fail. We might even start a war." She looked at each team member one by one. Her black eyes were hard and cold. "You will not approach the HFY. You will not touch them. You will not try to communicate with them. If they come near you, stay still and wait for the Veluxi to handle the situation. Is that understood?" Ambassador Thelrix nodded his old gray head. "Understood, Commander." Lieutenant Kessex grunted his agreement. Dr. Yenara's skin turned serious gray. "I understand." Elena Vasquez just nodded once. She did not say anything. Her face showed nothing. Irvith stared at the human for a moment longer than the others. Humans were strange. They were hard to read. But she had no reason to worry about this one. Elena was a cultural liaison. Her job was to help with translations and understand alien customs. She was not a soldier or a scientist. She was just there to help. "Good," Irvith said. "We land in 6 hours. Get some rest. Tomorrow history begins." The team left the briefing room. Elena walked slowly down the corridor toward her small cabin. She passed windows that showed the stars outside, millions of tiny lights scattered across the endless black. She thought about the HFY. She thought about their beautiful scales and their glass wings. She thought about how they could kill with a single bite. A small smile crossed her face. On Earth, she had grown up in a small town near a desert. The desert was full of dangerous animals. Snakes with venom that could stop your heart. Spiders whose bite made your flesh rot. Scorpions that hid under rocks and waited for bare feet. Most people feared these creatures. They killed them on sight. They ran away screaming. Elena had always been different. When she was 7 years old, she found a rattlesnake in her backyard. It was coiled under a bush, shaking its tail in warning. Her mother screamed for her to run. But Elena did not run. She sat down on the ground, very slowly, and watched the snake. After a while, the snake stopped shaking its tail. It uncoiled. It slid away into the desert and disappeared. When she was 15, she got her first pet snake. A small one, not venomous. But by the time she was 18, she was working with the most dangerous snakes in the world. King cobras. Black mambas. TAIPAN. Her friends thought she was crazy. Her family begged her to stop. But Elena could not stop. She loved these creatures. She understood them. When she looked into the eyes of a deadly snake, she did not see a monster. She saw a beautiful animal that just wanted to be left alone. She reached her cabin and went inside. The room was small, but comfortable. She lay down on her bed and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow she would meet the Veluxi. Tomorrow she would see the HFY with her own eyes. Beautiful, deadly, sacred creatures that everyone feared. Elena closed her eyes and smiled. She could not wait. Outside her window, the stars continued their slow dance across the universe. The ship flew on toward Velith Prime, carrying its crew toward a meeting that would change everything. None of them knew what was coming. None of them could have guessed history was about to begin. And it would start with a single human hand reaching out to touch something that everyone said she should never touch. The shuttle dropped through clouds that glowed like pink cotton. Elena pressed her face against the window like a child seeing snow for the first time. Below her, Velith Prime spread out in all directions. It was more beautiful than any picture could show. The forests were not green like Earth forests. They were blue and purple and silver. The trees grew in strange shapes, twisting toward the sky like dancers frozen in mid-step. Rivers cut through the land like ribbons of liquid mirror. And everywhere, there was light. Soft, gentle light that seemed to come from the plants themselves. "It is beautiful," Dr. Yanara whispered. Her skin had turned a shade of wonder pink that Elena had never seen before. Lieutenant Kessex grunted. He did not care about beauty. He only cared about danger. His 4 hands checked his equipment for the 10th time. He could not bring weapons into the Veluxi city, but he could bring his training, his muscles, his instincts. Ambassador Thelrix sat with his eyes closed. He was preparing himself. He had done this hundreds of times, meeting new species, learning new customs, building bridges between worlds that had never spoken before. But every time still felt like the first time. Every time his heart beat a little faster. The shuttle landed in a clearing outside the city. When the door opened, warm air rushed in. It smelled like flowers and honey and something else, something Elena could not name. Something alien. The Veluxi were waiting for them. They were tall, taller than humans, with bodies made of living crystal. Light passed through them and scattered into rainbows. When they moved, their bodies made soft chiming sounds, like wind through glass bells. Their faces had no features that Elena recognized. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just smooth crystal surfaces that somehow still seemed to express emotion. High Resonator Kethful stepped forward. He was the leader of the Veluxi, the most important person on this entire world. His crystal body was darker than the others. Deep purple shot through with veins of gold. When he spoke, his voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Welcome to Velith Prime. We have waited long for this meeting." Ambassador Thelrix stepped forward and bowed. "High Resonator, we are honored by your invitation. The Consortium thanks you for opening your world to us." What followed was formal and careful. The two leaders exchanged words that had been practiced many times. They spoke of peace and cooperation and the future. They spoke of trade and knowledge and friendship. It was the dance that all species danced when they first met. Careful steps. No sudden movements. No mistakes. Elena stood at the back of the group and watched. Her job was not to speak. Her job was to observe, to learn, to understand. She watched the way the Veluxi moved. She listened to the music of their bodies. She tried to feel the rhythm of their culture. The group walked into the city. And here, Elena stopped pretending to be professional. Her mouth fell open. Her eyes went wide. She could not help it. The Veluxi city was not built. It was grown. Towers rose from the ground like enormous crystals, glowing from within with soft light. Bridges of solid light connected building to building. The streets were paved with something that looked like frozen music, patterns that shifted and changed as people walked on them. "Incredible," Dr. Yanara kept saying. Simply incredible. They were led to the Grand Harmonic Chamber. This was the heart of Veluxi government, the place where all important decisions were made. The room was vast, bigger than any room Elena had ever seen. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into shadow. The walls curved and flowed like frozen waves. More Veluxi waited inside. Hundreds of them, their crystal bodies creating a symphony of soft chimes. They had come to see the outsiders, to judge them, to decide if these strange creatures from the stars were worthy of friendship. The talks began. Ambassador Thelrix spoke beautifully. He said all the right things. He made all the right promises. High Resonator Kethful listened and responded. The two leaders circled each other with words, testing, probing, slowly building trust. Elena let her attention wander. She looked at the ceiling. She looked at the walls. She looked at the Veluxi in the crowd, trying to read their alien bodies. And then she saw movement. Something was coming through an opening in the ceiling. Many somethings. Flying shapes that caught the light and scattered it into 1,000 colors. The HFY had arrived. They were more beautiful than the pictures had shown. More beautiful than anything Elena had ever seen. They moved through the air like dreams made solid. Their wings were so thin she could see through them. Their scales shimmered with colors that did not have names. The reaction in the room was immediate. Lieutenant Kasich went stiff as stone. His four hands twitched toward weapons that were not there. Every muscle in his body screamed danger. His training told him to protect the team. His orders told him to stand still. The conflict froze him in place. Dr. Yanara pressed herself against the wall. Her skin had gone white, a color Elena had never seen on her before. The color of pure fear. She was a scientist. She knew exactly how dangerous these creatures were. She knew exactly what would happen if one of them bit her. Ambassador Thelrix took 3 careful steps backward. His old face stayed calm, but his three eyes blinked rapidly. He had seen many dangerous things in his long life, but he had never seen anything quite like this. Elena Vasquez did not move. The HFY circled the room. 20 of them at least, maybe more. They flew over the heads of the diplomats, their wings making soft sounds like whispered secrets. They were looking, judging, testing. One of them broke away from the group. It flew lower. It came closer. It was heading straight for Elena. Specialist Vasquez. Delrix hissed through the communication device in her ear. Do not move. Do not speak. Do not. Elena raised her hand. The HFY landed on her forearm. The room went completely silent. Even the chiming of the Veluxy stopped. Every being in that vast chamber was staring at the human woman with a deadly creature perched on her. Armed. The HFY was warm. Elena could feel the heat of its body through her sleeve. Its scales were smooth like silk. Its wings folded against its back. Its small head turned to look at her face. Elena smiled. A second HFY descended. It landed on her shoulder, coiling its long body around the curve of her neck. A third followed, draping itself across her other arm like a living bracelet. High resonator Kethful made a sound like breaking glass. His guards rushed forward, then stopped, frozen by what they saw. In 3,000 years of history, this had never happened. The HFY did not allow outsiders to touch them. They barely tolerated the Veluxy themselves. Elena began to stroke the creature on her arm. Her fingers moved gently over its scales, finding the spots where muscles met bone, the places where tension lived. The HFY made a small sound. A happy sound. A sound of pleasure. Good baby, Elena whispered. That is a good baby. The entire diplomatic mission had just changed. Nothing would ever be the same again. And Elena Vasquez stood in the center of it all, covered in sacred, deadly creatures, smiling like she was petting kittens in a garden. She did not see what the big deal was. They were just animals. Beautiful animals that wanted to be loved. What was so strange about that? The silence in the grand harmonic chamber lasted for a very long time. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Everyone just stared at the human woman who stood in the center of the room with 3 of the most deadly creatures in the galaxy, draped over her body like pets. Dr. Yanara was the first to find her voice. This is not possible, she whispered. Her skin was still white with fear, and now there was a new color mixing in. Yellow, the color of confusion. The color of a scientist seeing something that should not exist. Lieutenant Kessex had not moved. His forearms were frozen at his sides. His eyes were locked on Elena. Part of him wanted to rush forward and pull the creatures away from her. Part of him knew that would only make things worse. So he stood like a statue and watched. Ambassador Thelrix slowly let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. His 3 eyes blinked one at a time, left to right, the way they always did when he was thinking hard. In all his years of diplomacy, he had never seen anything like this. He had studied humans before this mission. He thought he understood them. Now he realized he understood nothing at all. High resonator Kethful moved forward. His crystal body rang with strange harmonics, sounds that the translators struggled to interpret. Confusion, wonder, disbelief, all mixed together into a chord that filled the chamber. How is she doing this? He asked. His voice was barely a whisper. Elena looked up from the HFY she was stroking. She seemed surprised by all the attention. Doing what? The HFY do not allow touch. Not from outsiders. Not from us. They tolerate our presence, but they do not permit contact. Not ever. Oh. Elena looked at the creature on her arm. It had closed its eyes. Its long body was relaxed and warm against her skin. I guess nobody told them that. Ambassador Thelrix stepped closer, moving slowly and carefully. Specialist Vasquez, may I ask, how did you know they would not attack you? I did not know for sure, Elena said, but I could see they were not hunting. Their body language was curious, not aggressive. And they were so beautiful. I wanted to touch them. You wanted to touch creatures that could kill you with a single bite. Yes, the answer was so simple. So honest. Thelrix did not know what to say. Dr. Yanara finally pushed away from the wall. Her skin was cycling through colors now, yellow and pink and green. Her emotions too complex to settle on just one. She was a scientist. She needed to understand. Are there creatures like this on your world? She asked. On Earth? Elena nodded. We call them snakes. Some are harmless. Some are very dangerous. Some can kill you in minutes, just like the HFY. And humans avoid these creatures? Some do. Some do not. Elena smiled. I grew up handling venomous snakes. We call them HOTS because they are exciting. The translator struggled with the word. It finally rendered it as creatures that create strong emotional responses due to their danger. You handled deadly creatures for excitement. Dr. Yenara's skin went a shade of purple that meant complete confusion. Yes, and for science. And for conservation. We milk their venom to make medicine. We study them to understand how they work. We breed them in captivity to protect wild populations. Elena shrugged. On Earth, there are many people who keep venomous snakes in their homes. As pets, the chamber went silent again. Lieutenant Casix made a choking sound. You'd keep deadly animals in your homes. Where you sleep. Where you eat. Where your children play. Yes. Why? Elena thought about this question. She stroked the HFY on her shoulder while she considered her answer. The creature made a soft trilling sound of pleasure. Because they are beautiful, she finally said. Because they are fascinating. Because life is more interesting when there is a little danger. High Resonator Kethful moved even closer. His harmonics had changed. The fear and confusion were fading. Something else was taking their place. Something that sounded almost like respect. Your species, he said slowly, chooses to live alongside Deathbringers. Yes. You. Invite them into your homes. Yes. You touch them with your bare hands. Yes. And you do this because they are beautiful. Elena smiled. Everything beautiful is a little bit dangerous. Do you not think? The ocean can drown you. The mountain can crush you. The sun can burn you. But we swim and climb and walk in sunlight anyway. Because the beauty is worth the risk. The Veluxy leader was silent for a long moment. His crystal body sang with harmonics that no translator could fully capture. Complex emotions. Deep thoughts. Ancient memories stirring. On our world, he said, the HFY have been sacred for 30,000 years. We worship them. We fear them. We build temples in their honor. But we do not touch them. We do not dare. That is a long time to be afraid of something, Elena said gently. It is. What if you tried? What if you reached out slowly and carefully and showed them you were not a threat? Kethval's body rang with something that sounded almost like laughter. We are not humans. We do not reach for deadly things simply because they are beautiful. Maybe that is your loss. The words hung in the air. They were not meant to be cruel. They were just honest. Elena looked at the Veluxy leader with eyes full of kindness, not judgment. The HFY are not evil, she said. They are not monsters. They are animals. They bite because they are scared or hungry or protecting their territory. If you understand them, if you respect them, they have no reason to hurt you. You speak as if you know them. I know creatures like them. Every world has beautiful, dangerous things. The trick is learning their language. showing them you come in peace. Moving slowly, being patient. She scratched the HFY under its chin. It trilled with happiness. They want to trust you. You just have to give them a reason. Ambassador Thelrix cleared his throat. Specialist Vasquez, perhaps we should continue the diplomatic discussions. Elena looked around. She had almost forgotten where she was. The entire Veluxi government was watching her. Hundreds of crystal beings, all staring at the strange human who was casually petting their sacred creatures. Oh, right, sorry. She looked at the HFY. Do you think they will leave if I ask them to? I do not know, Kethvol said. They have never done anything like this before. Elena made a soft clicking sound with her tongue. The HFY on her arm opened its eyes. She spoke to it in a low, gentle voice, words that meant nothing but tone that meant everything. Slowly, carefully, the creature uncoiled from her arm. Its wings spread. It flew up into the air, circling once around Elena's head before joining the rest of its flock. The other two followed. One by one, they left her body and returned to the sky. But they did not leave the chamber. They stayed close, circling above Elena like guardians. Like friends. They like you, Kethvol said. There was wonder in his voice. I like them too, Elena said. They are good babies. Dr. Yanara made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. Her skin had finally settled on a color. Pink, the color of amazed affection. Humans, she said softly. You are absolutely insane. Elena grinned. On Earth, we call that being normal. The news spread through Velith Prime like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every Veluxi on the planet knew what had happened in the Grand Harmonic Chamber. A creature from the stars had been accepted by the HFY. An outsider had touched the Sacred Ones and lived. More than lived. The Sacred Ones had chosen her. Old books were pulled from ancient libraries. Prophecies that had not been read in 1,000 years were examined with new eyes. Priests and scholars argued late into the night. What did it mean? What could it mean? Was this a sign of doom or a blessing from the ancestors? The diplomatic talks continued, but everything had changed. Ambassador Thelrix found that doors which had been closed were now open. Secrets that had been hidden were now shared. The Veluxi looked at the outsiders with new eyes. If the HFY accepted these beings, perhaps they were worthy after all. And everywhere Elena went. The HFY followed. She could not enter a room without 3 or 4 of them, swooping down to coil around her arms and shoulders. She could not walk through the city without a flock trailing behind her like a glittering shadow. The Veluxi stopped and stared whenever she passed. Some made sounds of worship. Some made sounds of fear. All made sounds of wonder. On the 3rd day, High Resonator Kethvol asked to speak with Elena alone. They met in his personal chambers, a room deep within the central crystal tower. The walls sang with soft harmonics, private sounds meant only for Veluxi ears. 3 HFY had followed Elena inside. They curled around her body like living jewelry, their scales catching the light. You must understand, Kethvol said. The HFY are not just animals to us. Elena nodded. She was sitting on a crystal chair that had grown from the floor to fit her body. The Veluxi were good hosts when they wanted to be. On Earth, we have stories of sacred animals too, she said. Cows in India, cats in ancient Egypt, birds that carried the souls of the dead. Stories are one thing. The HFY are real. Kethvol moved closer. His crystal body rang with serious harmonics. For 30,000 years, they have been our judges, our guides, our connection to the truth. What do you mean? They see what we cannot see. They know what we cannot know. When a leader claims to be just, the HFY reveal if they speak truth. When 2 Veluxi argue over who is right, the HFY choose. When a criminal claims innocence, the HFY pass judgment. Elena looked at the creature on her shoulder. Its small eyes watched her with what looked almost like intelligence. They can tell if someone is lying. More than that, they can feel the shape of your soul. They know if you are good or evil, pure or corrupted, worthy or unworthy. HFY's harmonics shifted to something darker. Many have tried to fool them. All have failed. The HFY cannot be tricked. And they accepted me. They did not just accept you. They chose you. In 30,000 years, this has never happened to anyone outside our species. Not once. Elena was quiet for a moment. She thought about what this meant. The Veluxi believed these creatures could see into her soul. They believed the HFY had judged her and found her worthy. What if they are wrong? She asked softly. HFY made a sound like wind through chimes. Laughter, Elena realized. The Veluxi were laughing. They are never wrong. That is what makes them sacred. But how do you know? Maybe they just like the way I smell. Maybe they just like the way I smell. Maybe they just like the way I smell. Maybe my body temperature is comfortable for them. Maybe they are not judging me at all. Maybe they are just curious. You speak like a scientist. I am a scientist of sorts. I study how living things think and feel. And I have learned that animals are usually simpler than we want them to be. We give them meanings they do not have. We see purpose where there is only instinct. HFY was silent for a long moment. His harmonics had become thoughtful, complex. Perhaps you are right, he finally said. Perhaps the HFY are just animals. Perhaps we have built a religion around creatures that feel nothing at all. I did not say that. Then what do you say? Elena stroked the HFY on her arm. It trilled softly, pressing into her touch. I think they feel things we cannot understand. I think they know things we do not have words for. But I do not think they are gods. They are living beings, like you and me. They have their own lives, their own wants, their own fears. And yet they accept you. Yes. Why? Elena thought hard about this question. She remembered the moment in the grand harmonic chamber. She remembered seeing the HFY for the first time. She remembered feeling no fear, only wonder. When I first saw them, I felt something very simple, she said. I felt love. Not the kind of love you feel for a person. Something more basic. The love you feel for anything that is beautiful and wild and free. And they felt this? Maybe. Animals are very good at sensing emotions. On Earth, dogs can tell when their owners are sad. Horses know when their riders are afraid. Maybe the HFY felt that I was not a threat. Maybe they felt that I wanted to know them, not own them. Maybe they felt that I would respect them. HFY's body rang with that strange laughing sound again. Your species walks among death as if it were merely another neighbor. Perhaps we do. You befriend the lethal. You find kinship with the dangerous. Perhaps we do that too. Why? Elena smiled. The same smile she had smiled 1,000 times on Earth, whenever someone asked her why she kept snakes that could kill her with a single bite. Because life without danger is not really life at all. It is just waiting to die. And because the most beautiful things in the universe are always the most dangerous. Stars that burn. Oceans that drown. Mountains that crush. Creatures that kill. She touched the HFY on her shoulder, and it pressed its small head against her palm. We do not run from these things. We run toward them. We embrace them. We love them. HFY was silent for a very long time. His harmonics had become slow and deep, the sound of ancient thoughts stirring. The Veluxi have been alone for 10,000 years, he finally said. We closed our borders. We turned away from the stars. We believed that the universe was too dangerous, too frightening, too full of threats. And now? Now I meet a species that keeps deadly creatures as pets. A species that loves the things that can kill them. A species that sees death and calls it beautiful. His harmonic shifted to something new. Something warm. Perhaps we were wrong to hide. Perhaps we were wrong to be afraid. Elena reached out and touched the Veluxy leader's crystal hand. It was warm under her fingers, humming with gentle vibrations. Fear is useful, she said. Fear keeps you alive. But too much fear makes you stop living. The trick is finding the balance. Being careful, but not too careful. Being brave, but not stupid. And your species has found this balance? Elena laughed. No, we are terrible at it. We do stupid, dangerous things all the time. But we are still here. Still alive. Still reaching for the stars. The HFY on her arm lifted its head. It looked at her with those strange, beautiful eyes. Then it looked at Kethvol. Then back at Elena. It made a sound. A new sound. A sound like approval. The sacred ones agree with you, Kethvol said. Wonder filled his voice. See? Elena smiled. Even your gods know that a little danger makes life worth living. 3 months had passed since the diplomatic team first landed on Velith Prime. The mission that was supposed to last 3 weeks had become something much bigger. Something that would change the galaxy forever. Elena stood in the Grand Harmonic Chamber once more. But this time, she was not a simple cultural liaison standing at the back of the room. She stood at the center, next to Ambassador Thelrix and High Resonator Kethvil. The HFY circled above her head like a living crown of light and color. Thousands of Veluxy filled the chamber. They had come from every city, every village, every corner of the planet. They had come to witness the moment their world joined the rest of the galaxy. They had come to see the human who had made it possible. Commander Irvith watched from the back of the room. Her blue glass face showed no expression, but her eyes were wide. She had commanded many missions. She had seen many first contacts. But she had never seen anything like this. The Veluxy had been alone for 10,000 years. They had refused every attempt at contact. They had turned away every diplomat, every explorer, every curious traveler who came to their world. For 100 centuries, they had hidden behind their borders and watched the galaxy pass them by. Now they were ready to join, and it had all started because one human woman decided to pet a flying snake, High Resonator. Kethvil raised his arms. The chamber fell silent. His crystal body began to ring with harmonics that filled the vast space, sounds that every Veluxy understood, but no translator could fully capture. He was speaking to his people in the oldest way, the way they had spoken before words. Then he switched to the common tongue so the outsiders could understand. For 10,000 years, we have been afraid, he said. We looked at the universe and saw only threats. We built walls around our world and our hearts. We believed that safety meant solitude. The harmonic shifted. Sadder now. Heavy with regret. We were wrong. The Veluxy in the crowd swayed. Their bodies rang with emotions too complex to name. Some felt fear. Some felt excitement. Many felt both at once. 3 months ago, strangers came to our world. We agreed to meet them because we were curious. We thought we would listen to their words and then send them away, like we had sent away everyone else. Kethvil turned to look at Elena. The HFY above her head dipped lower, circling her shoulders. But then the HFY spoke. Not with words, with action. They flew to the human woman and accepted her touch. They chose her in a way they have never chosen any outsider in all our history. The chamber filled with soft chimes of wonder. I asked the human why this happened. She told me something I will never forget. She said that the most beautiful things in the universe are always the most dangerous. And her people do not run from these things. They embrace them. He turned back to face his people. We have spent 10,000 years running from danger. And in that time, we missed 10,000 years of beauty. The beauty of other worlds. The beauty of other species. The beauty of friendship and alliance and shared discovery. His harmonics rose, becoming powerful and clear. Today, that changes. Today, the Veluxi joined the Galactic Consortium. Not because of treaties or politics or trade, but because we have met humanity and learned something important. Life is not meant to be safe. Life is meant to be lived. The chamber exploded with sound. Thousands of Veluxi rang their crystal bodies in a chord of joy that shook the walls. The HFY above Elena's head called out in high, clear voices, adding their own music to the symphony. Ambassador Thelrix stepped forward to sign the treaty. His 3 eyes were wet with tears. In all his years of diplomacy, he had never achieved anything like this. A species that had been alone for 10,000 years, now ready to embrace the galaxy. Because of one human woman and her love for beautiful, dangerous things. When the ceremony was finished, HFY approached Elena. He carried something in his crystal hands. Something small and alive. "This is a gift," he said. "For you." Elena looked down and felt her heart stop. It was a baby HFY. Tiny, barely larger than her hand. Its scales were soft, and its wings were not yet fully formed. Its eyes were huge and curious. "She hatched 3 days ago," HFY said. "Since then, she has watched you constantly. She has followed you from room to room. She has chosen you." Elena took the tiny creature with hands that trembled slightly. The baby HFY made a small sound and immediately burrowed into the warmth of her jacket, pressing against her heart. In all our history, no HFY has ever bonded with an outsider. You are the first. You will always be the first. Elena could not speak. Her eyes were wet. She held the tiny creature close and felt its small heart beating against her chest. "Your people fascinate us," HFY continued. "You walk among death as if it were just another neighbor. You befriend the lethal. You find kinship with the dangerous. You look at things that could kill you, and you see only beauty." He raised his crystal arms, and his harmonics swelled to fill the chamber. "The Veluxi will join the consortium because we have met humanity. And we have learned that life, in all its dangerous beauty, is meant to be embraced." Later that night, Elena stood alone on a balcony overlooking the glowing city. The baby HFY was curled around her neck, sleeping peacefully. Above her, the stars filled the sky like diamonds scattered on black silk. Commander Irvith found her there. "Specialist Vasquez," she said. "I specifically ordered the team not to handle the HFY." Elena turned and smiled. "Yes, Commander. But to be fair, I had already been handling them for about 10 minutes before you gave that order." Irvis stared at her for a long moment. Her blue glass face was impossible to read. But finally, she made a sound that might have been a sigh. "Humans," she said, "you are either going to save this galaxy or drive it absolutely insane." Elena reached up and stroked the sleeping baby on her neck. It made a small sound of contentment. "On Earth, Commander, we have a word for days like this. Days when everything changes. Days when the impossible becomes possible." "What word?" Elena grinned. "Tuesday." Irvith shook her head and walked away. But Elena thought she heard a sound that might have been laughter. The stars continued their ancient dance overhead. The city glowed with soft light. And somewhere in the grand harmonic chamber, the HFY was still singing. A song of welcome. A song of change. A song of beautiful, dangerous things and the strange species that loved them. Elena Vasquez stood on the balcony of an alien world, holding a creature that could kill her with a single bite, and smiled at the universe. This was what she had always wanted. This was what she had always been. A human who reached for deadly things because they were beautiful. A human who saw danger and felt only wonder. Some called it crazy. Elena called it being a live dot, and now, because of that crazy courage, a species that had been alone for 10,000 years was ready to embrace the galaxy. Trade routes would open. Knowledge would flow. Worlds that had never spoken would become friends. All because one woman saw a beautiful, dangerous creature and thought, I would like to pet that. In the end, that was the most human thing of all. The universe was full of terrible wonders. Stars that burned. Black holes that swallowed light. Creatures that killed with a touch. And humans looked at all of it and said, yes, but is it friendly? The galaxy would never be the same dot, and that was exactly how it should be.